Hello, happy opening day eve. Welcome to Marlins After Dark, because no team keeps you up late at night like the Miami Marlins. Of course, with some news today, no team keeps you safer at night than the Miami Marlins as well. But we'll get into that. I'm your host, Sean Millerick, joined by Jeremiah Geiger, and I'm hoping by many of you as well as this goes on here. Because with the spirit of opening day, let's get into predictions. Predictions is going to be the theme of the show. First, Jeremiah, how are you? Happy opening day eve to you.
Hey, Sean. Yeah, no, opening day is always awesome. I'm doing well. I'm excited to kick off the 2023 season tomorrow.
You have any favorite opening day memories for the Marlins?
Um, Honestly, just thinking about it, the number one thing is my mom would always let me skip school on opening day and stay home, just watch the Marlins. Um, and win or lose, it was a good time. I'd stream it on MLB TV, and I remember one year, I think it was 2015, they were playing the Braves, and I sat down, I was all ready, and about the third inning, there was a big rain delay because they left the roof open. And how it took like an hour and a half. I can't remember,
Uh,
but it felt forever as a kid. So that was kind of one of those moments. I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna keep watching until they keep playing baseball. But opening day is always great.
yeah, plenty. Used to be a lot more of those rain delays in Marlins history, and it was but that was iconic when they had that one when
Yeah.
the in an enclosed stadium. That was why we got that roof. For me, I there's a bunch. That Bonifacio game in 2009 has to be up there. Just watching that and in all its hilarity inside the Parker, multiple stolen bases. This guy we had just traded for from the Nationals in the offseason. So that was great. But for me, I think I go to 2004 twice on it. I'm kind of cheating. There's the actual opening day in 2004. Just remember watching that one on TV with two former Marlins World Series MVPs facing off against each other. Livan Hernandez against Josh Beckett to kick off that season. And then I was up at college for this, and then I came down for the I think game 5 of the season, but the Saturday night game, the one where they're kind of doing all the giveaways, putting all the focus on just the defending champions in '04. Saw Darren Oliver actually pitch well for the Marlins, pitch into the seventh inning. He'd end the season of like a 60 ERA. Saw Haesop Choi hit 2 home runs in that game. He was the replacement for Derek Lee that season. And he had a great April and then sucked royally and was traded by the middle of the summer. But for one beautiful night and really 1 month, it just seemed like it was all coming together or it was all going to work in that title defense. The but yeah, but it's just a great time. Could everyone's got their own memories and senses for this day. It's the best day of the season in so many ways. That and it's even better than fantasy draft day. And there's all kinds of magic for opening day. Well, we got a little Marlins news to get into, I guess. First, it's a new sponsor for the Marlins, which is hopefully going to have some impact. The and our sponsor is ADT. John stands for All Donations Terrific, of course, but actually it's that famous, semi-famous security company. And they're supposed to be giving the Marlins $5 million a year for the next 3 years. So kind of news came out of nowhere this morning, but figure all money's good with her as long as they put it into the team. Jeremiah, what was your reaction to the news?
Well, when I first saw it, I saw it on Twitter, and I saw the photos of the patch on the uniform, and right off the bat, I don't like it. I think it's a little too big. Right on the shoulder, on the sleeve there. But that's the way baseball's going. We saw it with the NBA, with the sponsor on the jersey, on the chest, and now baseball's always has having it on the sleeve. It was always going to go this way eventually, but personally, I'm not a fan. I don't like how it looks. I like more of just the clean, standard uniform look. But I mean, it's a little bit extra money. I think it's $5 million a year, if I'm not wrong, for 3 years. So, I mean, all revenue is good, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of does have some of those necessary evil vibes. I'll give you that. The did some asking around today, and turns out that and that's going to be on the jerseys that fans buy as well, which I thought was interesting.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Asked this question on Twitter, asked Noah Berger this, and I imagine soccer fans everywhere were screaming at me for needing to ask the question. So I'm pretty sure those jerseys have all the sponsorships on them, but just haven't faced this in baseball. So I was definitely curious to how that was going to play out. And but yeah, so apparently, if you want to buy an authentic jersey this year, pay go the whole 9 yards on it, then you too will have an ADT sticker on it. But I mean, I'll be curious. Maybe I'll receive reserve final judgment for what this looks like with all the signage in the stadium. But yeah, to figure all money's good, and it's a lot of money for a naming rights deal for a club that's had long stretches and they were struggling to get sponsorships, impactful sponsorships, and they have that with the naming rights, and now with this. I mean, in terms of space or gaudiness on the jersey, it certainly could have been worse. And so hopefully, again, as long as they put the money into the roster, then I'm okay with it. I guess it's a deal.
I gotta say, at least it fits with the uniform. Like it's not or like some weird shade of red or orange or green. Like it's blue and it looks okay. It's just not. I'm not a fan.
Yeah. All right. So now I guess we're to shift gears to predictions. And again, anyone watching this, if you want to possibly jump on the show or throw it in the chat on Twitter or on the comments on YouTube. Yes, that'll be easier for you to see if you're commenting on YouTube, but I'll lend an eye towards Twitter as well. If you want to come on and make any predictions for the season on there and give a hot take, because we're just going to get right into it. I'll start off sharing some predictions for mine, but I'm hoping this even devolves into just some prop bets and some wagers on whether it's opening day or the season. So my first one, and then maybe Jeremiah, we'll give and take for a bit on this, maybe. So one prediction of mine is going to be that 3 Marlins starting pitchers win at least 10 games. Now, wins it's not everyone's favorite stat. It's not the sexiest stat anymore for measuring a pitcher's effectiveness. But 2014 was the last time we saw 3 Marlins pitchers have 10-digit wins, and one of those is a reliever. That was the crazy Mike Dunn year when just everything he touched seemed to turn to gold. Well, at least 10 times. I actually always thought it was a little overrated as a reliever, but he had a lot of appearances and just ridiculous 10 wins out of the pen that season. But it doesn't happen often. But I think 3 Marlins starting pitchers will find their way to winning 10 games this season. Yeah, at least. Think I'm crazy?
I like it. No, I think it's doable. I think right off the bat you got Sandy, and Sandy doesn't necessarily wins isn't a stat for him that he tends to focus on. He had that really good year 2 years ago. I think he had 6 wins or led the league in losses, but still pitched really well. And then obviously last year, the Cy Young year. And I'm expecting big things from him. And I like it because it ties into one of my breakout players for this season. Someone that is extremely underrated is Jesus Luzardo. I can see him getting to 10 wins. So with that being 2, the third one, you have Trevor Rogers. If he bounces back from that sophomore slump, if you will, he has a chance to get to double-digit victories on the season. It's going to be interesting. Will the Marlins win enough games in order for 3 to get to 10? But I think the team's a lot much improved since last season. So I think there's a real shot at that. It's not too crazy.
And I guess on the much improved, we could maybe just pause on predictions. Did spring training do anything to throw you off, I guess, in your optimism? Like, do you feel, I guess, more optimistic? I mean, I need to give all 3 options. I can't imagine that.
Right.
More optimistic, less optimistic, or just the same than you did when spring training started?
So I usually tend to avoid looking at wins and losses and judge how I feel about a team just by spring training wins and losses, because we've seen the Marlins do surprisingly well in the spring and players do well in the spring. Looking at you, Lewis Brinson, and then absolutely just suck in the regular season. So I
Just
was
homered in
more
a
worried.
game in Japan the other day, I think.
Yeah. Oh man. But so I was more, you know, focused on the development of the players, how each individual player is developing, the culture that Skip Schumacher is building over there, and not necessarily the wins and losses and individual performances. I mean, so this season, I think overall you look at the lineup and I feel a lot better about it. Now, are they going to perform? Looking at the spring stats, Avi Garcia, I think he just has a lot of work to do because, yeah, spring stats don't matter per se, but when you're not hitting the ball at all, I mean that's a lot different.
Yeah, it's a little. I mean, I'm choosing to ignore it, and that's gonna that'll be reflected in a couple of my predictions. I have the same philosophy. I mean, spring it's all about finding your rhythm, getting into the
Right.
timing of things. It would have been nice if a couple more people found their timing over that time span, but no, I'm throwing it out the window. Going into spring training, I was thinking 78, 70, right in that range, and I was pretty high on the Gurriel signing, and he stuck to the roster on there. So I'll stick with the 80 that I was thinking before the rest of it played out. I do think might pull the ripcord on panicking maybe a couple weeks quicker than I normally would if the performance in spring training continues in the regular season. Then usually I might
Right.
like just give it April, and I might be willing to freak out around tax day. So if we just see a continued performance of all the things that concerned us in camp, then that'll become more of a problem. But I'm kind of on that. One of the things that struggled on camp, I'll get to my second prediction. The So we had some concerns about Jazz's defense out there. So Jazz doing this new position in center field. I think it's going to get into his head a little bit as he figures it out. He admits as much that it's something he's learning. He's more comfortable with now, and I just think that's going to take a couple months. And while he wouldn't say this, I do think it could get into his head a little bit as a hitter. But I think he's going to want to compensate when he gets on base. And I think that combined with the new rules that are going to facilitate base running, I think Jazz is stealing 40 bags in
Ooh.
this season. So I originally wanted to say he's like a lock for a 30-30 season, but I'll admit I kind of think he's going to struggle a little bit, at the plate. So I'm not prepared to pencil him in for 30 homers or a breakout average or anything. I'm definitely think he's hitting 20 over that, but I don't think he's hitting 30. But I like him to, whenever he does get on base, I think he's going to try to make fireworks to make up for that error in the previous inning he made in the outfield or on a couple of whiffs at the plate. So I think 40 stolen bases for Jazz. I don't have him leading the National League in stolen bases. I think that's going to be Corbin Carroll. But
He's so fast.
he's just freakishly fast. And drafted him in every league, overdrafted him in every league. But 40 stolen bases for Jazz. What do you think?
I like it. The bases are bigger. We're gonna see a huge uptick in stolen base attempts this season. Who knows? Maybe Danny Donut, Daniel Vogelbach is even gonna try his first stolen base attempt in his
That's
career.
the best commercial.
Yeah, but 40 bags. It's doable for Jazz if he stays healthy, and that's the thing. As much as we love Jazz and his talent, he's the face of MLB The Show. The last 2 seasons, he has not stayed healthy. He's bowed out early, about halfway through. He's the back injury. And you have to wonder, is center field going to affect any, potential injury, whether it's a diving play or just, trying to rob a home run against the wall, because he goes 100% on everything. So it'd be the worst thing to see him get injured on some sort of superhero type play. But if he stays healthy and he tweeted out, I want to play 155 games, I'll bookmark all your tweets. If he plays 150 plus 40 bags, yeah, definitely I could see that happening with his speed and athleticism. 100%. It's very doable.
Okay. Any predictions yourself? Yeah.
I do. I was gonna say, so for Jazz, I actually do have him. One of my bold predictions is a 30-30 season.
Okay.
I think if he stays healthy, he's gonna hit 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, give her a few more home runs. I think the power's there, and he's gonna have a breakout year at the plate when it comes to power. So
Oh
that's one
man,
of my big predictions.
I think he said he wants 40 today.
Hey, that would be
in a
even
presser.
better. That'd be even better.
Okay, I like it. All right, another one. Let's see here. I think Sandy throws a one hitter this season, and this is so didn't do that last year. We kind of were waiting for that. Seems so close a couple of times. Getting into no hitter territory. You figure it's got to be a matter of time with him, but just kind of reflecting my defensive concerns about the team. The
Right.
defense, particularly the infield defense, has really regressed. This season compared to what he had to work with last year. So, and you've heard some chatter about that, and is that going to cause Sandy's numbers to regress? What's the impact going to be? Even I'm less worried about that, and I'll get to that in a moment. But I'm going to say he throws a one hitter and 0 shutouts for all his complete games last year. He only had 1 shutout. There were errors behind him. Even last year, there's some runners got on base, some runs, someone scored, so they technically don't go down as shutouts. So I think that'll be a little worse. I think there'll be a few more errors behind him this season, and so I'll say that he gets a one hitter. I almost wanted to predict 2 one hitters just because I'm so in love with Sandy's stuff, but I think a one hitter happens, but I don't think I think no, and I think there'll be 0 shutouts from him. But just to piggyback off that, I do think he repeats his NL Cy Young. If I go for my NL award prediction, I think he gets the Cy Young again. Again, you hear that maybe because there's no more shift and stuff, and the Marlins shifted a lot, that there'll be a few more hits that'll sneak through. There'll be more base runners. His numbers will grow up. He's hasn't been the best at holding runners in the past, and now it's easier to steal bases. Some reasons for concern, but the positive side of that is, but then you usually hear that he, one way that he can overcompensate is by just becoming more of a strikeout guy, and he's definitely got the stuff to strike out more people if he wants to. So I just think he's going to do that. I think he's just going to be a big increase in his strikeout numbers on the season. And plus, his superpower anyway was just pitching way, way more than the next guy, on the list. It's his durability, it's his stamina. He's still going to be able to do that. He's still pitching into the eighth, inning in like half these games. Maybe not half, but most. And so I just think between those two things, he's going to lock it down, and you'll be able to repeat the award.
No, Sandy's the man. Like, the man wants to be out there every inning. He wants to finish what he starts. Got that old school mentality, throwback days, back to the 70s, 80s, where everyone was finishing their games. Sandy has that. And you have to think he hears the chatter. He hears, oh, well, he's not going to repeat because of the defense, or he's not a strikeout guy. He hears these things, and I think it makes him even more motivated to go out there and prove them wrong. Can he win the Cy Young Award again? Absolutely. I think he's going to win it again. I have him as a Cy Young Award. I think he's the best pitcher in the National League. I think he's better than Justin Verlander. Am I biased? Sure, but we'll see. We got a big series, starting tomorrow. So the Mets series. So With Sandy, if he stays healthy, 100%, I think he can replicate his success and get even better. The defense, I'm not as worried about. I think guys will settle into their roles. And like you said, to your point, will Sandy adjust because we know he's been such a ground ball pitcher? Will he try to miss more bats and really try to go for the strikeout more often, because throws upper 90s, has the change, has the slider, like he's got the stuff. I think you're going to see an uptick in strikeouts from him this year.
Okay, like it. So, all right, we're in agreement there. All right, let's see. Next up, well, you got one for him? You got another just prediction for anyone on this?
Yeah. Okay. So for pitching, we're talking about Cy Young and in shutouts, one hitters. I think I'm a big Jesus Luzardo guy. Like, I'm a big Luzardo fan. I think he pitches a full season, and you're going to see the emergence of a 1-2 punch from Sandy and Jesus. And my big prediction is that Jesus Luzardo finishes top 5 in Cy Young voting. I think he has that good of a year. He makes the National League All-Star team, and he's going to finish top 5 in Cy Young. Sandy wins it, but you're going to have 2 Marlins pitchers who are just dominant this season.
I like it. The top 5 into voting, that seems tough, but I definitely think he'll be following Sandy to where is it this year? I haven't even. It's opening. Once I get past opening day, I'll look to the next milestone on the season.
Right.
All-Star game?
I want to say it's. I don't know. Honestly,
packing his bags to that destination. I know it's not in Miami, so he will have to pack. So I feel confident in saying that.
Oh, it's Seattle.
Seattle. Okay. All right. Yeah. Jesus will be after Seattle with Sandy.
So I'm really pumped for him this season.
Okay, love it. All right. Things I love less, but more than last year, as I kind of alluded to, the offense. So I'm gonna say that no one on the Marlins is hitting 30 homers this season, but I do think 3 should hit 20, and that's not 20 isn't too much of an ask. Really, it's been a bit of a tall order for the Marlins offense, especially to have multiple players on the roster. It's been the last time the Marlins had 3 players hit 20 home runs was 2017. The last time the Marlins had anyone hit 30 home runs was 2017. So it's been a minute since we've had just a true, reliable, that is our power guy, bat in the lineup that stayed in the lineup the whole season and produced the numbers to back up that title. So again, I'm thinking Jazz will have a all-star caliber season, but I just think I'm not sure he's going to hit the offensive ceiling he could have if he had just been left at second or in the infield so I'm not seeing him hitting 30, and I'm reading, I said I wouldn't read into spring that I'd throw the numbers out, but I don't have the optimism that Soler or Avi are going to be 30 homer guys, this season either. But definitely think one of them, Jazz, and probably someone we don't expect, honestly, could get to that 20 homer mark.
Maybe Jesus Sanchez.
Maybe DLC. I'd probably say DLC over Jesus, but we'll.
Oh wow, yeah, that would be surprising if DLC hits 20 plus. Just because of the playing time, there's so many outfielders, but
that's just it, right? It's who gets the most, playing time.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, obviously, I have Jazz going 30-30, so I'm gonna abstain from this one because I think Jazz gets to 30. I think you're gonna have a couple other guys get past 20, 25. I think either, like you said, either Abby or Soler.
Just not 30.
yeah. And I think Jesus Sanchez has a good season. Yeah, he's been seeing the ball really good in spring. I do. I think no, it wasn't like an ironic comment. Like, I actually think he has a pretty good season and figures it out, because this is really, if you look at it, it's the last shot for him. This is his last chance. He's out of options.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, and if he starts struggling, I think he would get traded or or whatnot, because there's, like you said, there's too many outfielders right now, and the playing time's just not there. So he's going to have a lot of pressure on him, and I think he gets to 20 homers. That's another bold prediction of mine.
Okay, nice. Hey, if he does, then I think Marlins are pushing for a postseason.
I hope so.
If he's able to do that, and power for days, if you give him 500 at bats, I think he could. I think I heard David Isaac threw out like a 40 homer projection.
Yeah, I saw that
there.
too. I was like, whoa.
And if he gets all those at bats, then he could get to that. But my thing is, I think he's going to bat 200.
Right, that's
maybe.
the thing.
So I don't think he'd get the number of at bats to reach it. But if he's hitting well, then then you're gonna look very smart with that prediction. So I hope you're right on that. Okay, and let's see, another one from me before we just get silly with this on props. Well, win totals. I've got mine queued up. I'll give you the honor going first. What do you think? How many games will the Marlins win in 2023? Got to give me the regular season record.
Okay, I'm gonna go. It's tough. I was thinking about this because I really want to see the Marlins make a postseason push, especially with the expanded roster or expanded wild card format. And I think they reach 80 wins. And it's more specifically, I think they get to 84 wins. I think 84, that's the number they get. There's a few games under 90. I don't think they're a 90-win team yet. I think that's being, if everything goes right, they get to 84 wins. They make a couple additions at the deadline, but they finish with a winning record and over 500 for the first time in a full season for a while. If you count 2020, it's kind of an asterisk year, but 84 wins. That's my prediction for the 2023 Marlins.
Okay, and well, I guess I alluded to it earlier. I just realized that, but I'm at 80 and 82. That's I'll say they hit 80 and no more. I do think there's the ceiling for them is higher. I've about a week back contributed to a piece along with Alex Carver and Luis from Fish Stripes on for a Cardinals site, and I put my best case scenario out there. A team I go to is the 2021 Giants. On paper, just weren't supposed to do anything, much that season. Pacoda had it predicted for 75 wins going into the year. Had really one big star and okay pitching. But a very solid roster of veterans.
Right.
That's not, but still, they weren't supposed to be great, and they won 107 games. Like the Marlins aren't doing that. They're winning 107. They're not winning 100. They're not winning 90. But they may get to 90. So in that I committed to maybe 89, 90 games, right?
High
around
80s
that mark. If everything clicks. And they had such bad injury like the last couple of seasons that they just keep that health going they've had in the spring, and they just have the other side of regression. They regression on that, and just have healthy season. All these pitchers that we're talking about kind of get close to their best outcomes, because this team does have better pitching. It is way worse defense than that 2021 Giants team, but definitely has better starting pitching that at least potentially that team did. So I could see that happening. Especially if you throw in the Metsing themselves, or injuries happening to one of the other teams in our division. Maybe a little luck tumbles the Marlins way once as well in recent years, and I can see that. But again, that's if everything clicks. Then I just think something will go wrong, because it's a long season, and something always does. You can't rely on perfect luck, and that's if you're the Marlins or you're the Dodgers.
Right.
That's just someone, even if everyone that got injured last year stays healthy, then someone else is getting injured this season. Maybe I'm not even going to say it aloud, but there's things that can happen that have not happened yet that could knock that prediction back. So I'm splitting the difference. I think you'll see an improvement because of the offense. all the offensive additions. Yeah, I'm expecting big things from Arias. They're near the top of the order. Again, I think Jazz will have an all-star caliber season, just maybe not the offensive ceiling he would have hit. But so 80 wins is where I'm at on this.
So, in your opinion, where do you think the Marlins end their playoff push? Do you think they're playing meaningful games in September, or do you think they're kind of like always battling to try to get to that 500 mark, like we've seen a couple years? You know what I mean?
That's a good question, because like another thing, and I didn't mention this, a reason that I'm kind of liking this 80 number is that I do think that you're going to see front office wise, you're going to see Kim Ng and then Bruce Sherman really signing off on anything to try to make the team competitive, and get that extra push. Like last year, they ended up being sellers at the deadline. I think if they're remotely close, and really even as close as they were to competing last year, going into the deadline as they are this year, I think you're going to see them try to push over that hump, as opposed to do what was really the smart thing, then acknowledging, the injuries and the guys weren't coming back, and then maybe we should retool a little bit, and wait for next season. I don't think that happens this year. I think this year if they could even squint and kind of convince themselves that competition is happening, they'll add to the roster, mid-season. So I think they'll be competing until then on until the end of July. But I could see August being rough, and so I'll have to think on that. That's a good question. What about you?
With 84 wins being my prediction, I think they are, at the beginning of September, they're going to enter wildcard contention. I would have them probably 4 or 5 games back, maybe 3, because we've seen that before. We've seen the Marlins go into the last month of the year, end of August, and they're only just a few games back out of the last wildcard spot. I think you're going to see that again this season. And at that point, it all depends on, number one, what acquisitions did Kim and Bruce acquire at the deadline? And do the Marlins have enough depth for whatever injuries they have to make that postseason push? Because I think they have the talent if everything breaks right. But, they most likely they just don't have enough gas in the tank to go the full 162 and get that spot. I think the depth is something that, is a little like overrated when we say we have a lot of outfielders in the system and a surplus of infielders. It's true to a degree, but the level of talent at that individual position when one guy goes down is not a
there is no
roster. Right.
There is no
right. It really isn't, in terms of winning. So I like to see them make a push into September, but I just don't know if they have enough gas in the tank to get it done. I'd love to, be proven wrong, because I'm an optimist when it comes to this team.
I mean, I guess if you meant your question, like, do I think they'll just be like right around 500 from the jump? Like,
right.
That I'll say no. I kind of, not to put a down note out there on opening day, but I kind of think we're getting our ass kicked in April, and then and then they might be, but then I think they will battle back from that. Whether that's then reaching 500 and floating around there, or if it's that hovering around a few games and competition thing. But like I could see like a big winning streak happening in May. There, or like a couple good reeling off some runs, couple 7-0 weeks, split between rough series. You're trying to pull back into competition, and then we're excited heading into the summer, and then maybe again then probably another maybe speed bump there.
April's rough though. I'm looking at the schedule right now. That month is rough. Like, that's gonna be tough.
April's tricky, and that's still of guys learning positions and figuring stuff out. So that's not a good combination. But on the other hand, it means that by the time they learn how to play defense, then they'll be playing then they'll be playing easier teams. So now I feel more confident that they'll have a strong May
Right.
and June. Well, okay. So just wanted to kind of go into some just maybe do like some prop bets here for a bit. So I've got some down, and again, anyone watching this, if you want to throw something out in the chat, if you even want to kind of like jump on and make one, or either cheer or bash. Hopefully not bash. We got to be positive for at least a week, but you can feel free to roast if you want. What the team has done. Then certainly, just try to, contact me here in the chat, message me on Twitter, and we could get you on. But got some props written down here. I love prop bets for the Super Bowl. I always get into those. So, Scott, let's do an opening day one first. The first Marlins to hit, and I guess this could extend beyond it, but first Marlin 2023 to hit a home run. Will they have an even or an odd numbered jersey? What do you think?
I'm gonna go with even. I think Jazz is the first player, and he wears number 2, so even.
Okay, and well, I'll bet against you. I'll always do that for all these. All the ones that I ask you, I'll just take the opposite, and we'll see who looks smarter online over the next couple of days. So I'll say odd. The first Marlin to hit a home run is going to have an odd number jersey.
Okay,
but I did let Jeremiah pick first. Jazz does wear number 2. All right, and in the chat we have a believer in Victor Mesa Jr. So that is, I'd love to see what. I would love to see him get a chance this season. Certainly, do you think we'll see a Victor in the major leagues this season? Junior or Victor?
Well, I don't know about Victor. He kind of has been struggling his whole career in the minors. His brother, but no, Victor. It's going to be interesting in Double-A. Will there be a spot that opens up for him? Probably not until the late call-ups, I would say, later in the year in September. And maybe you'll see him get a shot. But no, I'm excited to see what he does too. So, good hitter, got talent, but I just don't know if this is the year. I would look forward maybe 2024, but I don't know about 2023. That's just me.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I mean, it's like he's one of a couple guys in this organization. I kind of want to see get the at bat on there, even
right.
At some point, even if it is just a brief cup of coffee for injury reasons, or heaven forbid that September goes as I feel maybe many of us think it will. At the end of the season, but yeah, I think I'd like to see him get a shot, and he has had a solid spring. So maybe there is something there with one of our victors. All right, but thanks for that. And let's throw out another prop bet on here. All right, so season long on there, Jeremiah or anyone. What do you think is more likely, that Sandy throws one no-hitter, or that Sandy throws three or more shutouts? It's more likely to happen this season.
I'm going to go with the no-hitter. I think it's more likely to happen. I think 3 shutouts, that's really hard to do because
he just had one last year.
Right. And with all those complete games, only 1 shutout, because you have an unearned run here or there. Some guy makes an error, comes around to score on even just a ground ball RBI. 3 shutouts is really hard to do. I would go with the 1 hitter, or no hitter is more likely. I think Sandy can get a no hitter, but 3 shutouts, I don't know if even he can do that.
Okay. It's hard. All right. Well, all right. So I've got 3 shutouts. Okay. So we'll check back in October and see how I did there with that prediction. Okay. Who has more stolen bases, Jazz or Birdie, this season?
Jazz, more playing time.
Jazz. Okay. All right. That gives me John, and got a Got a couple in the chat. What do you guys think? Who has more stolen bases this season, Jazz or John? The answer, I'll immortalize your name on the feed.
If John leads the team in stolen bases, I think something
that's
probably
just the thing, right?
because that means he's
something
playing
went
every
wrong,
day.
probably with Jazz.
Exactly. No disrespect to John, we love the Birdman, but
no, he's great. I mean, if he played every day, if they just told him
100%.
do your JP impression, go play 162 games, that he might steal 60.
Without a doubt
this season. But again, for him to get that opportunity, that requires someone ripping many ligaments tomorrow afternoon, and we're gonna hope we're gonna hope that does not occur. Okay, let's see. I see we already kind of answered. You already kind of answered this one with homers. All right, who is more home runs, Avisel Garcia or Gene Segura and Luis Arias combined?
Oh man. Okay, so I thought you were gonna ask Avi Garcia or Jorge Soler, and I'm like, why are you making me choose between these two? Like,
no, more.
So, I really don't have a lot of faith in Avi Garcia, so I'm going with Gene and Luis Arias. I think Arias hits 10, and you'll see, about 10 from Gene. I don't think Avi gets to 20. I don't even think he gets close to 20. I've lost faith. I'm not gonna lie. Until I see him prove otherwise, I can't see it at like 20 strikeouts. Like, he led the team in strikeouts all spring. Like, I got to see something change.
Hands down, too. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
Okay. Also, so one more out here that well, then we'll see if you have any for me, maybe.
Okay.
Who is more homers, John Birdie or Jacob Stallings?
Oh man. I'm gonna go with Stallings because I think he has just naturally more power than Birdie, and I think he'll play more. But Arias will have more than Avi by himself. Yeah, probably.
I like that.
That's a good one. No, I think Stallings will, but I'm also expecting Nick Fortes to get a lot more playing time this season. Unless Stallings,
me too, and that's why it's there.
It's hard, because I think Fortes actually ends up with more homers than either of those guys.
Okay, so double-digit homers for Fortes this season. Nice. All right, what about for? Well, I thought I'd ask. Do you have any?
Let's think. All right, so going back.
I want to pick something I feel confident in.
Going back to the pitching staff, who has more innings pitched, Edward Cabrera or Trevor Rogers? And that can be with health or just, minor league, whatever. But major league innings, who pitches more?
Trevor Rogers.
Okay.
Yeah, Trevor, I think he'll go. Cabrera is just even if he's everything we want him to be, I just think they're going to hold him back. I think he'll have an innings cap. I'd be surprised if they let him pitch more than 130 innings. There, even if they're 130, going back a few years, just Synderberg, Matt Harvey type, numbers. Even if he's just top of the world, I think they'll. Give him. We've got the rotation depth if everyone's healthy to give him spot starts, stretch guys out. Rogers I think could do 170.
Right.
I just think they'll let him cook if he's healthy, and as long as he's decent, I think they'll just run him out there every fifth day. So I think he'll put up the innings counts, even though I am expecting Cabrera to be really good this season.
No, that makes sense. I think Cabrera, they're going to keep him more of a leash because he only pitched about 70 innings last season. So I think he's gonna get 20 starts, at least 20 starts, 20 maybe 25. But like you said, they're gonna try to be slow with him still.
Okay, what about first hit tomorrow? So hopefully, we'll get a hit. Max Scherzer. So first hit, even or odd for first this doesn't have to be a homer,
Well,
but it does have to be a hit.
I went odd last, or I went even last, so I'm gonna go with odd this one.
Okay.
So I'll give you the even.
All
And
right,
I'll
so
go
I'm
with,
even.
I'll go with Luis Arias getting the first hit, because why not?
Okay, I like it. Oh well, yeah. So that's yeah, I've got that coming up on my list here. What about for saves? So saves leader for the Miami Marlins this season. Would you want Dylan Floro or the field? And that's not combined, but just like anyone else. So do you think Dylan Floro will lead the Marlins in saves or any other baseball player
I'm gonna
in the
take the
organization
field.
currently or not?
I'm gonna take the field. I talked about this on my pod. We want Floro to succeed, but we've seen it so often early season struggles for Marlins closers that I don't know if Floro is going to be the closer the entire season. And the Marlins picked up 3 really good relievers, AJ Puck, Matt Barnes, and JT Chargo. And Puck is a guy to keep your eye out. I was talking about this on my pod. Just Marlins has it right there. Please let it be Puck. He throws gas. Like I'm talking 98, 99. Got a wicked breaking ball. People forget he was a starter in a first round pick out of the University of Florida with the A's, and then injuries kind of derailed his career there. But I think the Marlins can put him in the 9th inning role the second Floro struggles and let him try to flourish. That's one of my predictions is Puck becomes the closer sometime this season. You'll see him get the opportunity.
I think that'll happen. But yeah, that could again be is September going to end up being the September we want.
Right.
I think they turn it over at that point. But at this point, I'm really think I find myself buying into the committee on there. So I think in this case, actually, at least barring an outside trade, I think Floro might have been my answer. I mean, I think he'll get the longest rope. And we'll get to start with it. But I do think it's going to be mix and match. If you told me that 3 Marlins had 8 saves, or 8 or 9 saves,
I could buy that.
That would happen. I just think maybe Floro then ends up with the double-digit figure. And we're looking at like just 10, 9, 8. Down the line. But hopefully way more than 10. Hopefully. But
35.
I'm buying 35. The committee vibes. Okay, but since you mentioned them, I'll just throw one more out there, and then I'll let you go. Luis Arias on the season. Do you think he'll hit over or under 319?
Ooh, as much as I want to say over, I think it's going to be under. He had a really good year last season, and it was under 320, under 319. I think he hits over 300. I just don't think it's going to be that high. I think he's going to a slightly worse of a situation than he was in Minnesota, at least offensively. So I think you're going to see him get his hits, but I have him more around the 305 range, 305 maybe to 310. I don't think he gets there.
And he's an out-of-state fan, folks. So it's that wasn't necessarily product placement for our.
Hey,
but
maybe it's just throwing some reps to everyone out there in South Florida.
we appreciate it, and I've been in Texas for years, but definitely grew up and got to represent. I'll happily go over here actually if we I guess I kind of cut it out of bold predictions for time, but I've got him as the batting title, winning as the batting champ for the National League this year. I think he could end up knocking Jeff McNeil off his perch. Theirs shouldn't be too difficult for the for you Mets fans listening. But the reason I threw 319 out there is that would be the 10th highest batting average if he gets to that a Marlin has ever finished a season with. Conine did do 319 in 1994.
Okay.
And so I could see Arias definitely making that top 10 list. I don't know if he is gonna. I'm not saying he's gonna finish the season number one. That would require, I think, I believe clearing 340. Don't have that
Wow.
one down, but I think Hanley did that. And only I know it's only been 4 different Marlins have only ever hit over 330 even. So I don't have him getting there, but I do have him leading the National League, in batting average. So, and I think it'll be over 319.
I hope so.
Okay, let's see a couple more fun ones. Then we should probably reveal our next name on the Marlins countdown and consider wrapping here. But what do you think is more likely? 30-30 season from Jazz or Sandy getting the Cy Young again?
I think Sandy getting the Cy Young is more likely. I have him as the Cy Young winner once more. He's that good. He's that dominant. And it's hard, as much as I predicted Jazz to get 30-30, it's hard to bet on that because of his health. Sandy, we've seen, is much more durable. I totally expect Sandy, barring some freakish injury, to pitch 30 plus starts just like last season and make a run at the Cy Young Award. I think that's definitely the more likely scenario.
Okay. All right, let's just let's fire away through here. These are fun. And they're touching on something you thought would happen earlier. So what about if I told you had to pick what's going to be the higher number? Trevor Rogers wins or Nick Fortes homers?
I'll go. I'll honestly go with Nick Fortes' homers. I think he actually is gonna have
so really going for the breakthrough there.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Nick. Like, I think he hits double-digit homers. I got him around 12, 13. I don't know if Trevor's gonna have enough in the tank to win that many games. That's a tall task.
Okay, I'll take Trevor wins. I'm totally sold on the spring. That one crap start, I'm throwing it out, entirely.
Yeah.
Marlins won 7 games this spring. I was there for one of them. Rogers pitched, and I'm sold. I think he is all the way back, close to do that 2021 form. So, and I think as long as Sandy's on this roster, Jacob Stallings has a job, and
Yeah.
and is going to get a job more days than more days than not. I could see it happening at some point, but I think Stallings are hanging around enough to limit the extent to which Fortes could pop in with that. Plus, I'm also excited about Gurriel on there. I think some of those at bats that Fortes got last season are going to be Yuli at bats.
Right.
This season, and hopefully Cooper at bats and Soler at bats, and Fortes that had to do a lot of DHing, last season to make up for our injuries, and hopefully there. I guess I'm betting on a little better health this season. Okay, more 2023 starts: Dan Castano or Yuri Perez?
Man, that's a good one. I don't know how rushed the Marlins are to, open up Yuri Perez's service time, his clock, and get that rolling. So, but then again, I think that the first guy out of the minors would be Braxton Garrett. So, with the talent of Yuri, I'm going to go with Yuri Perez. It's tough, but I think because Braxton Garrett is going to collect more of the starts than Castano, I got Yuri Perez. I think you're going to see him this summer, and he's gonna dominate.
I agree. I think I definitely I hope he dominates. I definitely think you'll see him this summer. Just feeding into what I said earlier with kind of the desperation bid where the Marlins really trying to get over get over that hump, have a winning season, have a season that means something. I definitely think they will break the glass on Perez at some point. Will a Marlins hitter have a WAR over 4? Yes or no?
Yeah. I'll go with a yes on that. I think, I'm not a huge WAR guy, but it's good for the Marlins, and I'll go with Luis Arias. I think he goes off this year and has some crazy WAR numbers.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure he had that last year. So I think he
Yeah,
was
let me
over
check
4
the
last
numbers.
year. So. I mean,
I
it's
think
not
he
my
did.
favorite stat either. I mean, it's
He had because there's two different ways of like telling it, like
yeah, and that gets
WAR,
annoying.
Yeah. But no, he had 4.3, and then the year before 3.4. So yeah, I think he can get there.
Yeah, I mean, so with that, like the last time a Marlin had that was JT in 2018.
Okay.
So last time we got to you have that number, and even getting a Marlins hitter with a hitter again, unless with a WAR over 4, that's even over 3. It's only happened I think twice. In the last since 2017. Someone could check me on that, but definitely JT was the last time the Marlins had a hitter in 2018. That kind of breakout season for him. So you're going yes. I wouldn't dispute that, but I guess I've got no on here. What's more likely to happen? Jacob Stallings steals a base, or Edward Cabrera throws a complete game?
Eddie Cabrera, I don't think is going to pitch a complete game because, well, so when I was at that game, I went to that game in Oakland. He actually went 8 innings, and I really wanted to see him go the full 9 innings. So he can lengthen out and have the length. But I don't see Jacob Stallings running. So you know what? Well, give me Eddie Cabrera. Give me Eddie Cabrera. He can do it. If Skip lets him, he can do it. If he's on a roll, why not?
I think I wrote this down on my notepad like 60 seconds after seeing that Vogelbach commercial we were talking about earlier.
That's exactly what popped into my mind.
To just see Stallings on base, in a week when that happens, sizing it up and thinking this is his moment.
Right.
To get it done. All right, what else do I got here? You got anything? I'll try to. That may be on mine that I got down here.
I'm having a bit of an emergency because my charger is not in my computer right now, so I gotta run and get one. But I'll be like 30 seconds is right behind me, and I'll think of a question.
Okay. All right. So recapping here, things we seem to both be pretty high on Trevor Rogers this season, and Edward Cabrera as well. So pitching definitely is the thing I'm most excited about going into this season. Anyone else in the chat? Things that you can throw it out. What you're looking forward to the most this season? It's pitching across the board for me. I think I'd name four pitchers, and that around number 5, I'd get to watching Luis Arias bat. Trying to think of others' predictions for stats I have for the season. So Arias is your batting champ. Jazz steals 40 bases. Sandy repeats his Cy Young. A little worried about April. Not gonna lie. But I think what I could do, and then maybe we'll throw out a couple more props in, is just kind of go to who I have, and we're about to push the hour mark. So who I have as the next name on the Marlins top 30 list. And so when counting down here, previous weeks, we've spotlighted Livan Hernandez, Pudge Rodriguez, and most recently Ricky Nolasco, Mr. Reliable there in the Marlins rotation. And today we're going to unveil the next name, which is, I had it all keyed up, Al Leiter. Al Leiter coming in at number 27 on the list. While I was first putting this list together, part of me was thinking that maybe I'd bump him off. Not, and from the list, not anything more severe than that. Bump him off the list. He here for 2 seasons, 96 and 97, was phenomenal during the 96 season. And he got the stats here: 16 and 12, 2.93 ERA, just great. Like, should be one of the best seasons ever by a Marlins pitcher. But he had in terms of, I think, the memory of many a Marlins fan, really the crap luck of doing that the same year that Kevin Brown just totally eradicated the National League. ERA under 2, should have won to Cy Young, lost it to John Smoltz, who also just had I think he won 24 games that season or something ridiculous, but but almost every meaningful stat, Brown was better that we would say was meaningful now. But Smoltzy had more wins than him that season. But anyway, that's water under the bridge. But so Leiter, his second season with the team, 97, champion, World Series year, championship season. So obviously he got a ring, and that's kind of what ultimately cemented him on the list. But he really sucked in 97. Terrible season. 11 and 9, 4.34 ERA. Just hit 150 innings at a time when a lot more guys were throwing innings. So I'm not totally, but still got to give him credit for the World Series. I'll admit to what I was watching that year, kid wasn't that into, at watching every game yet. And I had a lot of concerns about Al Leiter heading into Game 7, because probably the first time I watched him pitch an entire game that season was that postseason. And he had got kind of lit up during a relief appearance in Game 2. And then in Game 4 of the NLCS, right before Livan Hernandez's famous epic strikeout performance, not at all aided by Eric Gregg, that he also just got killed. He gave up 4 runs and 10 hits across 6 innings. And Game 4, the Marlins lost to the Braves 4-0, and I actually got to go to the stadium to watch that game. And so that just created a really negative impression on this 13-year-old. At the time, 13. Year-old me was not happy with that performance. And then when 13-year-old me went to the stadium to see Game 7, I was like horrified at this guy who gave up 4 runs. Because how could you do that in a baseball game? Was pitching again. Plus, he'd struggled earlier in the series, but had a great game. Kept Miami in the game the whole time. We'll ignore the 2005 season when he did return for a third stint with the Marlins. That did not go well on there. I think when I was calculating his WAR for this top 30 list exercise, I don't think I added any points from that season. So I've got Al Leiter firmly lodged at 27. Among other things, he threw the first no-hitter in Marlins history. So got to give him some love for that. Jeremiah, any thoughts on Al Leiter? Others think he belongs on the top 30 Marlins list?
Yeah, well, sorry about the technical issues. My computer died. I couldn't find my charger anywhere.
Here we go.
But no, Al Leiter. I mean, whenever there's a first memorable moment in the franchise history, I think you always have to give that guy credit. You go back to the Mets. I know they're a rival, but I remember when I was starting to get into baseball, Johan Santana with the first Mets no-hitter that he pitched, and he's always going to be remembered in Met history, Met lore. So Al Leiter, first no-hitter. He only pitched 2 seasons for the Fish, 96, 97, like you said, but 96 was a really good year, just looking at the numbers. And then obviously winning the World Series in 97, part of that first, Florida Marlins championship team. So, no, definitely deserves a spot on the list. I think he had a very lengthy career. And he won a lot of games back when winning games were more of a, respected stat. He had a stretch for about, 9 years where he was winning at least 10 games, double digit victories every season. So very consistent. He would provide you a lot of innings.
Yeah, no, just very reliable and Hall of Fame caliber broadcaster. Two years he came out. Definitely like next after his career. Always love hearing him talk about baseball and break things down. There, I think he had 1 year when we were just like another year where we were rotating guys in and out of the broadcast booth, where he actually covered some Marlins games. So that was a nice treat. But love all his stuff with MLB Network. But anyway, this list is all about the Marlins resume and what he did during his time here. And yeah, definitely thinks he belongs. Think he belongs on the list. Well, all right. Well, this was a bunch of fun. They went way over. I probably will not. I don't think I'll punish Spotify listeners for posting this to Spotify, but we'll see. Then, Jeremiah, any final thoughts? Any predictions for tomorrow? Do you think the Marlins will win tomorrow?
I
Yes,
think
yes
the
or no?
Marlins win. Yes, Sandy. It's Sandy time. I think he goes 8 innings, absolutely shoves, and the Marlins take the victory.
All right. I think Sandy locks it down for us as well. And yeah, Marlins win the game. I think they're losing the series, but I think but I definitely think we'll see a Cy Young caliber performance from Sandy tomorrow. But all right, so we'll catch you next time on Marlins After Dark. I'm Sean Millerick. This is Jeremiah Geiger, and we'll catch you next time. Go fish and go 2023 season.
Let's go fish.